Everyone, welcome to Thursday Talk, where we are talking about event-based scenarios and what some of the fear porn channels are putting out there and try to set it straight. Tonight's topic is, after martial law has been declared, oh no! What are your plans now? All right, and with me I have Bob, and Bruce, I guess, isn't going to make it because his headset is still broken and his new one hasn't arrived.
Oh, okay.
I really like to have had Bruce up here because, you know, him having been in the military as military police, you know, could offer a view of the other side of it. But let's see who's all here right now. Let's go over and check out who came in. All right, first one in here really was Gardner Josh, then Lewis, then CR from north of the border, Kaylin Strain, Hugo Homestead. Of course, Bob started talking to him. Then Kathy D. Salt and Light, and Christy Betts. Where to Begin Homestead, Emma 3010, Annalie Brown. Tibor is in the house. Homestead Aquarius. And Lisa Clark is here. Trent McMurray's here. Hey, Trent. And okay, I'm caught up to date here on everyone in there. We've got a couple of lurkers, but that's fine. We love lurkers. That means someone's actually sitting out there listening and paying attention and learning something, hopefully. All right. Let me get this other one up here, going to it. Okay, so, and I'm going to bring up the slides over here for a second, and I got to give out the warning here. Danger, danger, warning. Fantasy fear porn, Kool-Aid drinking zone ahead. Yeah. All right, martial law. There's you see a lot of people talking about martial law, especially what's going on right now, and they're talking about all the different things. They've declared martial law. What are we going to do? All right, but hey, they've only declared it in other countries right now.
Yeah.
So what are these? Well, you know, a lot of there are a lot of YouTube channels, and they've even been mentioning on mainstream TV about, you know, the possibility of martial law at different times and stuff. So what exactly are they talking about? Well, most of the fear porn channels out here that are, you know, on YouTube and Patreon and some of the other ones are saying, all right, the U.S. is going to declare martial law and they're going to send the troops out and they're going to take away everybody's preps, everybody's money, everybody's weapons, and round everybody up and put them into re-education camps. Hang on a second. How many government troops does the United States have?
Not enough for that.
How many citizens are out there that are armed?
More than they are.
Yeah. And so this is somebody spreading out fear porn, and usually it says, you want to know the truth, subscribe to our newsletter for, you know, $1.99 a month or whatever it is they're charging, and check out our Patreon page where you can buy supplies and all this other BS. All right. So, I mean, I'm sorry, it just ticks me off that you got these jerks out there lying to everybody, getting everybody worked up, saying, oh, the government's getting ready to roll martial law out on everybody. No, they're not. Back in 2020, when old Donald was still in the White House, so I found several articles from back then where the left-wing mainstream media was saying Trump is going to declare martial law because of COVID-19. Did he?
They should have during the Seattle riots.
Yeah.
They should have.
And that's a particular point I want to come back to in a second here. Mm-hmm. But they were talking about him declaring it all across the United States. Nope, never did.
Yeah, neither did the governor. I just let people know right away. Hang out and listen, because I've been in martial law 3 times overseas, and I'll give you some tips. I took some notes. how to stay alive and how to be street smart. So just hang on.
Yeah, so we're going to get, and I froze. We got real life experience here, not these daydreamers out there that are drinking the Kool-Aid and have their little fantasy. Oh, the world's going to come to end and I'm going to be the survivor. No. All right, so let's go back over here. I want to go over some points here. Now, this is a picture from over there in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
They had it back then, and I know Bob's wife was over there at the time.
Yeah, when she was growing up.
Yeah, and so he can relay some of her stuff, but the only time there were any type of camps that I know of in the United States, they were called internment camps during World War II. And it is a black eye on our country. All right. Bigoted black eye. But so what is martial law? Martial law is a law administered by the military rather than the civilian government. Martial law may be declared in an emergency, response to a crisis, or to control occupied territory. There's a point that this one did that this, everyone, down in the description below, there are 4 links. I'm going to be pulling up stuff from those 4 links, but it's down there directly. So you can go look at it and get the full story. I mean, full information. Now, one thing this one is missing on here is that it's when the local government fails, then they declare martial law. Here it is. So martial law is justified when civil authority has ceased to function, or it is completely absent, or has become ineffective. Further, martial law suspends all existing laws, as well as civil authority and ordinary administration of justice.
And your civil rights. As
determined by the need.
Mm-hmm. And trust me, they're gone. The civil rights are gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, so the civil authority has to cease to function. If civil authority is still functioning and operating properly, there is no legal justification for martial law. And the military knows that. So in the United States, martial law may be declared by proclamation of the president or a state governor, but such formal proclamation is not necessary. And you got to go into law, and there's some steps around that are very stringent for the military to say, however, we're declaring martial law in this area because of something. Although the U.S. Constitution makes no specific provision for the imposition of martial law, nearly every state has a constitutional provision authorizing the state government to impose martial law. Okay. The power of martial law, once held to be absolute, has limitations. For examples, civilians may not be tried by military tribunals as long as civilian courts are functional. Nevertheless, the bounds of court decisions, a military commander, his authority under martial law is virtually unlimited. However, in the United States, all military commanders know, hey, this is temporary, and anything they do may be looked at otherwise and scrutinized after the fact. So they're going to try to walk a line and not take a big, heavy-handed effect on the public. So through a climate of mutual aid, although a climate of mutual aid has always existed between the military and civilian law enforcement and should continue to exist, the Department of Defense personnel are limited in what they can do to enforce civil law. All right, so we're getting more limits on it. All right, so history of it. All right, we got 17 examples here. Well, actually 16 examples of where martial law has been instituted in the United States. The 17th one is a snafu that happened back in 2006, and we'll go into that. But so there's only been a couple times. where it's been doing, West Virginia coal miner wars, the San Francisco, California in 1934, the San Francisco in the 1906 earthquake, the Great Chicago Fire. So there's a lot of, it's zoned in specifically to an area that has pros. So it's zoned into a specific area where the problem has been, not for the whole country. All right, 2007. This I've heard a lot of people talking about. Oh yeah, they set this up, blah blah blah. Okay, we're going to talk about what actually happened here really quick. So HR 5122, also known as the John Warner National Defense Act, authorized for fiscal year 2007, was a bill passed in Congress in September 2006 and signed by George Bush on October 17, 2006, becoming public law, blah, blah. However, because they've discovered, wait a minute, what the crap is in here after the fact, somebody, and I'm not saying who or which party it was, but it wasn't the president's party, snuck some crap in at the last minute. And once they found out, both sides were, the majority of both sides were really ticked off. And so in April 2007, the Senate had held hearings on it, about the changes to the Insurrection Act of 1807. And this Public Law 9017 was repealed in January 2008, and the previous Insurrection Act was restored. Basically, someone tried sticking stuff in there where the president, any president, could overstep bounds that everyone said, no, these are, he doesn't go there. And so they basically, someone snuck it in there. They caught it. Someone who was reading it after the fact said, well, wait a minute, we screwed up on this. And they repealed it immediately. Well, immediately, a year, by Congress is immediate. The way Congress moves. All right. So legally, what we just went over here, there's quite a bit of limitations of what happens here in the United States for martial law. We have learned from some of the bad examples around the world and have put limitations on it. So with that, I'm turning it over to Bob here to talk about the different places he's been in martial law around the world.
Okay, here we go. The martial law experiences I've had were 3 different times in the Philippine Islands. The first time was in 2017 when I was on the island of Mindanao and I was visiting family, and I knew a lady from a chat program. She ran a feeding program for the poor. She lived in the north. So I kissed my wife and daughter goodbye. They went home to the States. I went to the north of Mindanao to a city called Cagayan de Oro. And while I was there, I came out of, in Cagayan, there's only 2 malls in the downtown area, and they're right across the street from each other. I came out of the Gaisano Mall, and I looked across the street, and the Army and the SWAT team surrounded the other mall, and they were everywhere. Guns everywhere, armored personnel carriers. Now, they probably got a tip-off of some kind. So I immediately called the lady that I knew. I met her and her family because I was going to participate in the feeding program. And she said, Bob, go in your hotel room and stay there. So listen to the locals. I did. I went in my hotel room and I called her back, and she said, something kicked off in Marawi. Stay in your hotel. And she gave me the best piece of advice was, if you're in a place, because this is a highly Muslim population in the north of Mindanao, in this area. She said, if you go into one of the malls and the Muslims leave, you leave too. Don't hesitate. Get out right now. Right now, just leave, because they're always tipped off about something's going to happen. So bang, martial law was declared, and I spent most of the rest of my time there in my hotel room or in one of the malls eating and all that. It's not smart to go out on the street. So when I went to leave Cagayan de Oro, The airport security was to an extreme that I've never seen before. Now, I wasn't aware martial law was declared, but I thought something was going on because there were armies and they were setting up mortar pits around the airport. There were armored personnel carriers everywhere. Crew served weapons in all directions, trying to protect the airport because Cagayan is only about 20 miles away from Marawi. I saw OV-10s flying over. Those are a close-in air support aircraft, and lots of helicopters going that way. So it's like, oh, wow. It took me hours to get through the security checks. I finally did get to the airport in Manila, and that at that time, martial law was declared, and it was national. It was all the way across the country. That took me another 3 hours of security checks. We're talking physical pat downs just to get on the airplane. So that was my first experience in martial law. It was intimidating. It was intimidating because the main airport in Manila had armored personnel carriers and army was everywhere. Anytime you see soldiers, that means death. Listen up. If you see soldiers here or abroad, they mean death. They are not law enforcement. They are there to shoot you. Okay. So that was my first experience. In 2018, I came back to visit the family, and we were way down in the south with the family. And while I was there, I noticed that the barangay police, that's the local law enforcement, they're not part of the national police force. They had a pickup truck stationed right outside my family's home, guarding me, my brother-in-law, he's English, and the family, because we were the only foreign visitors there. The same as and I stayed a week in the family's home. This is during martial law. And one morning I arrived at the family's home, kissed my wife goodbye. She had business to attend to. And a fella from the local police, the barangay police, had an interview with me. He sat down and he had a list of questions because he wanted to know who I am and what are you doing here? You know, so I answered all of his questions and he left. That's part of martial law. If I said I'm not going to talk to you, things would not have ended well for me. Be cooperative. You must be cooperative and comply. So 2019, it was martial law in Mindanao only. I'll give you an example of different things that are, yeah.
Can I interrupt you for a second here?
Mm-hmm.
During any of these first two times, did they try taking weapons away from your family members over there?
No.
Or raid their houses?
No.
So there was none of that stuff these fearmongers are saying is going to happen.
No.
Okay.
They didn't. There was none of that going on. You know, the military and the local law enforcement and the national law enforcement had their hands full already. They're not looking to seize any firearms from anybody unless they pin you against a wall. And if you're trapped against a wall by those guys, give it to them. If they come looking for your firearms during martial law, give them to them. Don't resist. If you resist, you're dead. That's martial law. They'll kill you. Okay. Chances of that happening here are almost none, you know, because there's just not enough law enforcement to even do the daily tasks.
Yeah.
But in 2019, it was same situation when we arrived there. Local law enforcement was sitting right outside the house guarding me, my wife, my sister-in-law, and my brother-in-law because we're the only foreign visitors there. Same as 2018. And I'll give you an example of it's an inconvenience because example is we took the family out for a dinner at a local mall at a big restaurant. On our way back home, before we could go into the area where my family lives, there was a barangay police were lining both sides of the street, and they're armed with M16s. And these guys go through 6 months of boot camp. Okay. They're the men who live in the neighborhood, and they stopped every car, and they used a mirror underneath the cars to look. They opened the trunks, and they were looking at everyone in the cars, and they gave me some grace because, I mean, they're not looking for me. I'm a white foreigner. They're not looking for me.
Yeah, they're not looking for the 6-foot giant.
Right. They're looking. What they were looking for is some of the people who were up in Marawi in 2017 when ISIS was establishing an outreach, a branch of ISIS in 2017. There were some Malaysians and Indonesians from Al Qaeda and from the Abu Sayyaf. Those are radical groups over there. Those were the guys that they were looking for, and their associates. The reason why the war kicked off in 2017 was because those guys had arrived in country, and the Philippine Special Forces went after them. And they're not there to put on handcuffs. They're going to kill them because they knew who they were. But 2019, example is like when we got stopped in a roadblock, and I've seen roadblocks in action over there. Example is we went to visit my wife's cousin or nephew and niece. On our way back, there was a lineup. I mean, these Filipinos are fast and they're efficient. They know what they're doing. I think they have more experience. When we came out of that housing complex to go on a road, there was already 2 armored personnel carriers in both directions with the army and the police, and all of them were armed with M16s. And their orders for that day were to stop every single rider on a motorcycle. And the Filipinos know that you stop. If you don't stop, they're going to open fire. They don't play games over there. They'll kill you. Period. And during martial law, they can do that even here. If you resist, if you're fleeing, don't do that because you're likely to get really hurt or killed. So I've got some pointers for anyone who might find themselves in martial law. This comes from Street Smarts and from Times in Martial Law. Whatever you do, don't point at somebody. Don't point at them. You're putting yourself in danger. That means you may be singling out a law enforcement officer or a soldier for assassination. So don't point at anybody. Don't do it. A big thing is don't run. If you have to get from place to place, don't run. That marks you as a target. You just did something. They're going to come after you. Another tip for you is like I've been in situations where the police have got people up against a wall and they're interrogating them, and they're even lifting up their shirts looking for tattoos, gang affiliations. Okay. Whatever you do, don't go behind them. Go in front of the officer, point your hand like this with your eyes cast down and ahead, and ask for permission to pass. Don't go behind them. These guys are already on high alert. They're going to hurt you.
Yeah.
They might even shoot you, So here's another thing that has to do with YouTube. Let me mark these off. I've got some notes here. Your bug out bag. All right. If something does kick off, and you run out of your house with your bug out bag, they're going to take it. The law enforcement is going to take it from you. Don't fight over it. Don't argue. Just drop it. Drop it and put your hands in the air, because these guys, like I said, they're already on high alert. You're going to get hurt. Let me mark these off. Okay. Bug out bag. Okay. And if you're carrying a weapon, drop it, release it, give it to them. If they come to your house to seize weapons, give it to them. There's always a black market if you want to get more firearms. It's always there. All right.
In Chicago, you can pick up something for $15 on the corner.
Oh yeah. I guarantee you, even in my area around here in Seattle, if I had, however many dollars, I could put the word out that I want a pistol. Somebody would bring me a pistol, for X amount of dollars. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Don't walk behind the cops. Here's another thing, because you're gonna be detained from a moment to moment, not officially detained, but it's going to be delayed. We'll leave extra time to get from point A to point B. When you're standing in a line waiting your turn to get pat down, watch the people around you, follow their example, and look at the people that are nearby you. If someone's twitching, nervous, physically move away from that person, because this guy might do something that will get you caught in the crossfire and get you shot. Move away from them. Now, um, here's some stuff to be able to buy your way out of trouble. I've done this before in streetwise stuff. Like example was when I was in Cebu City by myself. I haven't watched that, but I was approached one night when I was in Cebu by myself. Mind you guys, I travel a lot alone. I'll leave the family over there and I'll go to another city just to check it out, come back, because I'm dumb. But this right here, well, actually, I got cast iron huevos. It's different when you're a civilian than when you're in the military. The military, you've got backup, you've got food, shelter, all in evacuation. I don't have that. I just go. This will buy you out of a situation right there. A couple cigarettes. I was approached by one really scary pimp one night. He was a killer. Once you've been around the globe a little bit, you can look into the eyes of someone and tell that they're a killer. He wanted to know if I wanted a girl, and he looked me in the eyes, and I went, "No, I don't want a girl, but hey, do you smoke? Here you go. How about a couple cigarettes?" You could do that in any circumstances around the globe. I even handed him a can of beer. I don't give them money, though. Don't give anyone money, because then they know you've got enough money to throw away and you might get robbed. Cigarettes, a lighter to buy your way out of a problem before it starts. You understand? Bottles of water work really well too. I did approach the barangay police once in my family's neighborhood, and I had 4 bottles of water because those guys had been out in the back of a pickup for hours. Then I walked up to them like this. I said, "Merry Christmas, gentlemen." And I handed them each a bottle of water. You do that so that they recognize who you are and that you're a decent man. Those guys will watch your back for you when you show a little bit of kindness and a little bit of respect. That's what it's all about, is respect.
And I bet the same thing would apply here during any type of a situation where a local martial law had to be established, like in Katrina or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You help them, they're going to go, "Oh, this guy's on my side. We're going to help him too."
Yeah, they'll watch out. They'll watch out for you. A little bit of gratitude, it goes a long way. But whatever you do, if you approach soldiers or police officers during martial law, do it like I did with those bottles of water in my hands, stretched out away from my body. Approach them carefully, address them. "Merry Christmas, gentlemen." And another way to get their attention is you drag your feet while you're walking. It makes noise. And they turn and look at you. "Merry Christmas, gentlemen." And if they wave you off, get out of there. Just move.
Yeah. Give them a nod and say, "Okay."
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Here. Yeah. Carry a lighter. Yeah. Watch the people next to you. And yeah, comply. No matter what happens, comply. When you're out walking around and you're anywhere near the army or the police, keep your eyes straight ahead, but cast down a little bit. That's a physical gesture of submission. Because I don't care who you think you are or where you've been, or if you think you're Rambo because you watched a movie, you're not. These guys are way ahead of you. Keep your eyes straight ahead and cast down slightly, not to pose a threat. These guys have probably been awake for 20 hours and hungry and tired. Don't give them a reason. Okay, I went over those. That's about the best I can tell you. If you have any weapons on you, don't carry them with you if you're out walking around. And if any shooting starts, stay in your house. don't go outside. That's why you should have food and water put away in your home at all times, so that if you get stuck in your house, you're still going to be able to eat. Please put away some food and water in your house and a way to cook it in your house. Always do that. Most of the time I'm kind of jovial and joker, but this is real serious stuff, because you might be over in another country and have this stuff kick off. Whatever you do, the best place for you is out of sight. Get somewhere, stay out of sight. So
one of the things I'm gathering from you, Bob, is just the opposite of what a lot of channels saying about you got to make sure you're carrying your weapon at all time. If martial law has been declared, you don't go out with a weapon, because they're looking for any weapons.
Anybody who's got a weapon is a threat to the military and to the police. And I will tell you this, that at least over there in the Philippines, they're so used to this stuff. These guys show up immediately with roadblocks. I mean, without warning, bam, you got a roadblock put up. You better comply with what they tell you to do, because you're not going to like the butt end of an M16. Comply. Stay alive. That's the most important part. And if they want to detain you, okay, I've seen detainees in Cagayan de Oro. They were in an area, it's called a barangay. That's local civil leadership, surrounded with barbed wire and armed guards around them. Those guys were evacuees, most likely from Marawi, which is only 20-something miles away. It's not far. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to set you up in barbed wire to protect you from a threat, and also to protect you from yourself. Because people who've been through a traumatic experience do stupid stuff. Mm-hmm. They want to keep you in there. They'll feed you. They make sure you get water and that you're guarded. If you wind up in that situation, once again, comply. Because overall, when the bullets start flying, most people are better off in a place like that, where you're being in a detention area. You're better off there than you are by yourself. And if you get stuck in a place by yourself, sit down, shut up, and wait for rescue, because rescue will come. Yeah. They will come. But get down, stay out of sight, keep your mouth shut, and just do the best you can to stay alive.
I got a couple points here in the side chat I want to talk about here real quick here. Mm-hmm. Lori said, basically be a gray man and act smart. And mm-hmm. then Christy was asking, be a gray man with a question mark. Being a gray man is blending in, not standing out. Being one that just kind of fades into the background, and they don't clue in on you, because So like if you're going to a 49er football game, you don't want to be wearing a Dallas Cowboys shirt. You don't want to do something that's going to stand out. You mm-hmm. want to just blend in what everybody else is wearing. Wear similar stuff. Just kind of blends in. A hoodie, sweatshirt type stuff. Sometimes, other times it may be wearing a suit and tie. If you're down on Wall Street and you want everyone's there dressed in ties and stuff. Suits and ties, that's what you dress in. So you dress for the area you're going in, so you blend in and don't stand out.
Yeah. When the Battle of Marawi in 2017 kicked off, I stayed out of sight, because I can't hide over there. I can't hide. I'm 6 foot tall and I'm white. I did have a close call once, but that's another story. I stayed out of sight. Get out of sight and stay out of sight. That's why even if you get stopped by a roadblock somewhere, keep food and water in your car, so that while you're sitting there waiting, it may take you a day to get through a roadblock, may take you 2 days. Yeah. Keep food and water in your car. But when you're out on the city streets during martial law, just walk normally. Don't do anything stupid,
Yeah, here in the United States, most of the martial laws were done by governors, not by the president.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and so those that are responding on the martial law are uh, are, as Tibor said, National Guard fellers.
Correct.
And so, what are National Guard guys? They're part time. They're not full time out there all the time. We're going to call up the Guard. Well, people are having to leave their normal jobs to get called up as National Guard, and some of them are going to be really upset and mad that they're being called up because they don't want to have to go out there and deal with it. And you just need to realize here that the National Guard are not, I know some people are going to take this, are not your professional soldiers. They're not like Bruce was, in the Army as an MP. That was his MOS. That's what he did. He was a professional military cop. These other guys are professional grocery store clerks, garage mechanics, whatever, and they do the National Guard for a little bit extra income and whatever, never expecting to be called up into a major event.
Yeah, I was full-time active military in the U.S. Air Force, and the Guard they take the same training that active duty does. All the training is the same for everyone: Guard, reserves, active duty, and I had a lot of respect for the Guard because these guys were usually older men and women. They were professional. They did their jobs well, and they did their jobs right. But you want to put in there is like, okay, this guy's got a normal job at Boeing, and the Guard is activated, and he's got to go. He's not going to be real happy when he's sleeping on the ground somewhere when he's got a nice comfy bed at home. So don't do anything stupid to piss those guys off.
Yeah. Hey, gear grinding. Yeah, that's the thing is, I'm just looking over the list here. Of all the ones that were in the United States where martial law was declared, other than the American Revolution, which was the first time, and then the New Orleans in the War of 1812, that was a regional area one, but that one was also declared by the president. Everything else here I'm looking at was governors. Everything else was governors since then. So who's responding? It's the National Guard, not the United States Army, not the U.S. Marines, not the Air Force, not the Navy. It's National Guard. And I don't want to disparage them with a bit of history, but it's a fact. Everybody remembers Kent University, right? If you look in your history book where a nervous guardsman popped off a shot and everybody else started shooting.
Yeah, that's why you don't do anything stupid.
Yeah,
just keep calm.
Because you never know when they're gonna they're scared. They're scared too.
Mm-hmm. And they're people just like us.
Yeah, and that's what happened is something happened and the guy either accidentally or thought he saw something, pointed at it, but something happened. He twitched and his went off, and all the rest of the guys heard gunfire. What are they going to do? They're going to start squeezing the trigger too. I'm just catching up. Yeah.
Oh, see.
Yeah, you could be shot of. Yeah, exactly. So you got to. You don't want to be going out at nighttime during the martial law at all.
Yeah. That's important. Well, we can't had a close call in Spain when I was there, but these the guardsmen I dealt with over the years are pretty good. They know, they're usually more mature people, and they're family oriented. They're family men and women, but still, any governor or any president who calls for martial law, these guys are on high alert.
Yeah,
because they don't know what's coming at them. But once again, if martial law happens either state or federally, one of their tactics that they use is they set up roadblocks. and they can set up a roadblock like that. They set up a roadblock in the Philippines from the time we visited my wife's niece and nephew until we left, and we all left together. They did it within a few minutes. And over there, the Army and the National Police Force are closely coordinated together. Here in the States, it would take them a while to be able to get everyone to mesh together. But just keep that in mind. Please keep some food, water, medication, whatever you might need in your car. Keep it there. Because, like I said, it might take you 2 days to get through a roadblock.
Yeah. Okay. One of the things I want to point out, you're talking about how well trained the Philippine military and national police are now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that is due to what happened back in '72 when they had that big snafu back then. And it's the last link down below in it where I got the 4 links. And everyone, you should just go read that, because this is an example of where martial law went wrong. And the Philippine government learned from it and put things in place to keep. One of the factors in it was Marcos was talking to his the head of the judicial branch, whatever. And I'm trying to find it here real quick. And I asked him, what are the qualifications for martial law? What can I do? What can I not do and stuff? And one of the in the report he turned into him was, one of the things, martial law is not a good idea because it puts too much power in one person's hands, and total power like that corrupts. And that's what happened.
Yeah, I know some details about that. When Marcos declared martial law, that which he could in their constitution, the reason why he did that is because so many communist insurgents were coming into the Philippines. He knew it, and they were trying to stop these guys. Okay, he declared martial law, which abolishes your Senate and your House of Representatives. It's gone. He has a total authority. Now, he did that to try to save his country from communist occupation, because the Filipinos were with us in Vietnam. They fought alongside of us. And when Vietnam started coming apart, that's when the communists went across the waterway and they sent Comrade Commissars in there to brainwash the youth in the Philippines. And they were just taking hold. They were starting. Okay. Now, what ended, okay, Marcos had the support of the military. So he had the military to surround him and guard him away from the population and from whatever threat is around. And where things started going sideways was when the military was ordered to open fire on the population during demonstrations. That was giving the communists what they wanted. They wanted to see dead civilians, because then the Comrade Commissars who were planted all over the country started rounding up youth after school and inside of little chapels and teaching them how American imperialism is pulling the puppet strings of Marcos because his army just opened fire in these different cities. Okay. That was widespread. That happened a lot. Now, the way that they stopped that was, do you know who stopped that from the military from killing their own people? Do you know who stopped it?
No,
the Catholic Church stopped it, because the nuns and the priests were lining their bodies in front of the demonstrators between the soldiers, and they stood their ground. Filipino soldiers will not shoot the Catholic Church. That's when the communists started losing a foothold, because the Catholic Church was getting involved. They were there for peace, stop the killing of our own people. So then the communists then started killing the Catholic Church. They started assassinating priests and nuns, and that's when the population turned it around, and that's when the population reacted to the communists, and that went all the way up into the 80s. The population took it upon themselves, because they knew who the communists were, and they took matters into their own hands. The population had already been disarmed by martial law. So these guys knew who the communists were, and when the communists started killing the Catholic Church, they went in. My father-in-law was there. He told me directly that they went into their homes or wherever they were at, and the men in the neighborhoods were beating them to death with clubs and sticks and knives. That's how you defeat communism. That's the only method that works. Once they're indoctrinated, you've lost them. You'll never get them back.
Thanks, Mary Beth, for reporting them. Okay, yeah, so I just dropped the thing in there that they have to be members to make anything because we had another one of these little dinglebutts come in there.
Oh.
All right. Yeah, you're right, Lorraine. I'm starting to attract the attention of the worst bots.
Yeah.
Anyways, one of the things that, which is one of the things I want to point out to from what Bob said, suggestions. I want to take it a step further on if martial law gets declared in your area because of rioting or whatever else, and there's a chance they might be, checking homes for weapons or something because of shootings going. And I froze. They didn't want me to get this piece of information out. If you have weapons and stuff, probably the best thing you do is bury them. In flower garden, whatever, bury them while it's going on because, A, you don't want to be running around with a gun anyway because then you just made yourself a target. You bury it. That way, if they come in, I haven't got any, they got rid of those a long time ago. And they check the house and they're gone.
Yeah, that's my father-in-law called those coffee can guns. The Filipinos did the same thing because now he handed his weapons over. He had like a shotgun, a 22, and a deer hunting rifle, and he handed them over. But some of the people that he knew took their 45s and put them in a coffee can and buried them. And as soon as the population started coming after the communists, all those coffee can guns came back out, and they were used against the communists. The communists are here, guys. They're here. They want to see strife and killing between the state, the government, and the population. They want that. Don't give it to them. Don't give it to them. Stay peaceful.
Yeah, I don't want to name organization names, but Anti-Hoosie Magoosie and Our Lives Matter, the leadership have stated they are communists.
Yes, they are.
They said they're socialist agents. So, anyways, all right. So, I think we've covered things pretty good. Anybody have any specific questions in the side chat you want to ask Bob? But right now, what also brought this on is that in the Ukraine, they have declared martial law and are bringing the entire populace into their military under martial law, getting them trained and everything else to save their country. Yeah. So that's what they're doing over there. And so
they're desperate.
They're desperate. So that's what they're doing to save their country. And so that type of martial law it's like, okay, it's us against these guys. And that's what he's doing over there. And that just checking, keeping up on the side chat here. All right. So, the odds of there being a major non-emergency, non-civil strife martial law declared in the United States is practically 0%. It has to be something like Hurricane Katrina, the Chicago fire, the big riots and stuff that were going on. It's not just going to be, we got these guys out here. We're going to declare martial law and go out and take their guns. No, that is not going to happen because there's major repercussions for any governor that does that.
Yeah, you're welcome, CR. But for me, if they come to take my firearms, I'm going to hand them over. Have them all. Take them. I'm not going to even say anything about burying anything or fishing. None of that. Have them. Take them. They're yours. I can always get more if I have to. right out on the city streets. You know,
Yeah.
you can have my guns. Go ahead. Just leave us with our lives. Leave us with our health. You know,
Yeah.
I will comply with martial law. I've learned from examples. Don't fight them. You're not going to win.
Yeah. And that's one of the things these some of these fear porn channels really get my goat on is all right, when they declare martial law, this is what you do. You make sure you're carrying guns here, there, and on yourself, and you go out in teams, and it's like, no, guys, that's stupid.
Yeah. Let's see, the Homestead Aquarius. Okay, what if situation with food gets bad and rationed across the globe and the country, and people start starving? Well, yeah, it could
That's
happen.
yeah,
Sure, it could. Sure, it could.
yeah,
What if what I've got food stored away? You know, not a
mhm,
lot, but my neighbors don't know a damn thing about it. Nothing. They
yeah,
know nothing about my own food and water. Okay, keep your mouth shut about it if you're going to store up some food and water.
OPSEC.
Yeah. And recently I've been packing up stuff and shipping it over to our house in the Philippines, which opened up some more shelves. Can you
Right.
guess what's being replaced with? You know, but you guys don't know where I live, and I'm never going to tell you.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can probably find me by hacking in, whatever. But good luck, you know.
yeah. All right, I want to address this some too. So if the situation gets so bad that as far as food shortages, and they start rationing food, that now they may start rationing food before they go martial law.
Right, right.
And if and in that case, if they're rationing food, you should have like you should have a good amount of food already stored up in your house. If they're doing food rationing, do not stay at home. Get out there with your neighbors, put on some baggy clothes so it looks like you've really lost a lot of weight. Go out there with them to wherever the rationing centers are and try to get food. That way you
Well,
blend in with your neighbors. And I go, oh, hey, he
you know,
needs food too. Because otherwise, if you're not going out getting food and you're not putting on the baggy clothes to make it look like you're losing weight, you're going to draw attention.
no, if you have to go to what most Americans call it a FEMA camp, then do it, because you're going to find security there, but they're going to disarm you. They're going to take your property away from you before you enter, because they don't know who you are. They don't know what your intention is. So prepare for that. But if you have to go into a camp to be fed, that's better than dying. The name of the game is to stay alive. Keep
Yeah.
yourself and your family as healthy as possible. There's so many nutcases out here on YouTube who will say that they'll do this and they'll do that. That's hogwash. That's because they're trying to sell you with a bill of goods.
Yeah.
If you go with a government agency or local agency to be in a camp of some kind, there you're going to be protected. There you're going to get food and water and probably some medical care for you too.
Yeah. And the thing is, the fact that of trying to set up camps everywhere across this country ain't
Oh
going to
boy.
happen. It
Oh
ain't going to
God.
happen. The only place that may have any cool camp set up, and it's just going to be a distribution center and a shelter, is going to be major cities where major disasters have happened. They want people to stay in their homes as much as possible. They'll set up distribution points where you can go get food and go get bottled water if you need to, whatever else. But they don't want everybody gathered to one point. They want you to stay in your home, away from them, so they can do whatever it is they're doing, their job as far as taking care of stuff, and allow them to be able to distribute the foods and goods they need to.
Homestead Aquarius. Okay, the masses will not have stores of food.
Right.
This will cause a bad day. What will they do? I don't know what they will do. What I will do is get out of sight.
Yeah.
Stay out of sight.
Yeah, and the they in this, what will they do? They is in the government or they is in the people? Um, the government will try to distribute some food and water, and that's where it's going to get tricky. And they'll there's going to be some of the food distribution centers, if it's that bad, may try to get a run on it. But generally speaking, if they are setting stuff up, it's going to be all right. You guys come up, you get in, put up, you get some stuff. They hand you a bag. You don't get to pick what they're giving you. You say how many people you got in your family.
Yeah.
Boom, here's your bag, and they log you down.
You have more to worry about your own neighbors and the people in your small town or your city than you do the government, guys. The people around you right now, I'm surrounded by hundreds of people, families, single people, all that. They are more of a threat than the government. The government just doesn't have the national resources to go through everyone's house. And I've heard a lot of chatter about how the government's going to come and take your food. I really doubt that. Your neighbors are going to take you out and take your food. That's who you got to be careful of. The threat is right next door,
Yeah. Okay. All right. I see Homestead. I answered the question. So when his thing on the they was the government. Well, the government's going to only try to do what they can do, and if it gets too dangerous for their people in that area, I can't say for sure what they'll do, but I would most likely bet that they're going to pull people back until people start behaving, and just all right, you guys want to fight and be all nasty stuff, we ain't going to be come in there and have you kill our people. So each you to say for then definitively this is what is going to happen, this one thing. No, there are plans upon plans upon plans for variant scenarios happening. If they're in there trying to distribute food and everybody's being good, boom, they keep doing it. If they start having gangs coming in and trying to take stuff, guess who's coming in to try to deal with the gangs? If it's under martial law, they're bringing in the military to deal with the gangs.
Yeah.
So that's they have the plans for but plans the government actually hopes for the best and does plan for the worst.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's what we should do too.
Yeah. That's why I say if you're desperate enough to go to a camp, that's where the only protection that you're going to get. I've seen people being detained in camps in Cagayan. They're there to be protected away from the threat and from their own self. People do stupid stuff in a crisis. They might decide, well, I forgot my teddy bear at home. That's 25 miles away. I'm going to walk home and get it. No, they're not going to let you do that. But yeah, as far as I'm going to say it again, the biggest threat you've got is the guy next door.
Yeah. As far as MRE's websites to buy stuff, probably your best bet on this is going to be go check out Kaylin Strain, her channel. She does MRE reviews from around the world and everything else. And I'm not sure who else, but she can probably, if you comment on one of her videos saying, hey, where's the best place to get that? She'll point you in the right direction, or she will give you the information herself.
Yep. Number one thing I can say, because my wife grew up in martial law, and she and I have had lengthy discussions about what to do. And the number one thing she stressed with me, because I've had some experience, but she grew up with it. Don't let anybody in your house. Don't let no matter how hungry they are, don't let them in your house. I would recommend if somebody's knocking on your door begging, don't open the damn door. And if you pass out food, well, then that neighbor of yours says to himself, they've got enough to hand out. There's more in there.
Yeah.
And they're going to come back and they're going to get it. And that's when you got to make a choice. Me and mine, or this dude and his family. Yeah. I've already made that choice. Me and mine are going to do the best we can. to stay alive and stay safe. That's why one of the reasons why on the very start of my channel is my little 5 foot tall wife with a Mossberg pump shotgun. Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
Right? That's a deterrent to anybody if they find out where I live. You're going to walk through. You're going to be in trouble if you come to my house, and there's no question about that.
All right. Diggs, you may think you got a black thumb, but you just haven't stuck it in the ground to make it turn green yet. So yeah, there are a lot of people out there to give you help on growing stuff. Courtney and Ginger Ninja and some of the others. Stringfield Ridge Farm and the others will. They're more than happy to help you. Give you information on doing stuff. But yeah, I thought that was absolutely hilarious. I mean, it's sad and hilarious what Tibor said about the feeding the Pop-Tarts to the camels because they didn't know what it was.
Now on a garden, for crying out loud, have enough food stored up in your house or wherever you're going to keep it until your garden starts to blossom and starts producing food. You've got to have some packed away, because it takes a garden several months to be able to start making cucumbers.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that I learned from a YouTuber here. If there is civil unrest and people are hungry and you have a garden growing in your backyard, destroy that garden. Run your lawnmower over that sucker. Don't let them walk by and see that you've got stalks of corn and tomatoes all over the place, because you're going to lose it. They're going to come over your fence and they're going to take everything you've got. Once again, it goes right back to the neighbors. The people in your own area are the biggest threat you've got.
Yeah. All right. Like Lori said, the Green Wizard, check him out. If you want to know about how to start gardening, we've said, I don't know how many times in the last couple of months we've been talking about this. His book is great for the beginner gardener, for getting your soil up and producing, so you can actually do it. It's on Amazon, The Green Wizard's Guide, and it takes you right to it. Interesting thing on he tells about he had a whole bunch of different tomato plants and was only getting a few tomatoes for each plant. Once he started got away from adding the chemicals to the lawn, did the natural stuff to his yard, suddenly he had one tomato plant putting out like 100 or 600 tomatoes.
Yeah, Kaylin said something here. Kaylin Strange, she said she would pick up her potted vegetables and bring them in the house and hide them. Good, Kaylin.
Yeah, I mean I'm gonna be doing putting out some videos here. I'm just editing the one I filmed yesterday. I'm trying to grow stuff indoors. Yeah, I'm setting up a little experiment to try to grow some couple tomato plants indoors year round. Some Swiss chard or rainbow chard, and some basil and a couple other things that I can grow indoors here and get it to grow year round. If I can get it to grow year round, it's going to be great. Now, if I can get the tomato to only grow 9 months out of the year or 10 months out of the year, and I got to start another one up. So because the tomato plant is not a perennial, it's an annual, it just does 1 year at a time. You got to redo it. So I maybe, when the one's starting to wane down, I'll start another one to start it growing. If I can get it to grow in the wintertime here.
Yeah, Audie Murphy, who's that? Tibor 101?
Yeah, Tibor. My plans be on for Petticoat.
Fort Petticoat. Yeah. Well, once again, pair gardening with prepping. Mm-hmm. Keep enough food on hand to survive for a couple months until your garden starts to produce. Otherwise, you're going to stand there hungry and just waiting for these cucumbers to start to flourish. And a way to protect it. That's really important, guys. Especially, I live in suburbs. I can't grow anything because there's so many addicted people in my area. I live in the Seattle area. They will rip up your plants just like they did to my neighbor lady several years in a row. She tried growing tomatoes and corn and a few other things. As soon as it starts budding out and producing, they rip the plants right out of the ground and they steal everything and throw it all over the ground. You know, have
Yeah.
a way to protect yourself. And my God, if you have a way of to protect yourself, whether it's a firearm or an edged weapon, practice with it.
Yeah.
Practice, practice, practice. We've made it a ritual with my family. We used to go once a week for months. Now we go once a month, and we go to the range and we practice and practice and practice. But once again, you've got to have an iron heart. You have to decide us or them.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating violence of any kind. Don't use violence unless you have no other means.
Last resort.
Last resort. Yeah.
Okay. Take that off. There we go. All right. So we're a little over time here, but I think everyone still seems to be enjoying it. Tonight is the last Thursday night I'm doing for a while. Probably not until next fall. I may bring Thursday nights back on next fall.
Creative.
So it's just going to be for gray man prepping on Tuesday night and Camp Patton Family Compound Gardening and Homesteading on Monday night. And so that's what's coming up. So coming up on Monday, this coming Monday at 8:30 Eastern. I got to adjust the time. It's easier for everyone to just calculate Eastern back to their time. So that's why I give Eastern times. So 8:30 Eastern. The topic is, how are your garden plans going? Some areas aren't able to plant yet. Others are already starting to plant. But how are your plans going? Are you getting planned out exactly what you're doing and stuff? And so we're going to be talking about that. Talking about that on Monday. Tuesday night, on Tactical Tuesday for Gray Man Prepping, is the dirty dozen lies new preppers are being told. So we're going to clear up some of these, make sure the word gets out of these. Some of these are just flat out 180-degree wrong lies that some of these channels are telling new preppers. Oh, you got to buy my stuff to do it.
Well, you're welcome, Warren and Prairie there. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Interesting you brought this up. Back in California, where my wife still is, there she's not ready to retire up here. They have the it's sort of like a gardener's fair. They got a bunch of the master gardeners come in, and one of the things they do is they have a giveaway at the end, and they give away all these different type plants and stuff. But the big giveaway is strawberry plants. They have all these bare root strawberry plants and sawdust and stuff that they packed up with water and everything. And they give away hundreds of these plants out. And they've got they give away books and everything else. And if you can get the master gardeners in your area, and there's a Master Gardeners Association, to do a seminar, sort of like a preparedness fair, but it's for gardening, and have all different classes and stuff. It's a great way to get stuff going. All right. And so that's what I got coming up. And then, of course, there's tomorrow's Friday. So is it 10 o'clock? I think it's 10 o'clock Eastern on Wide Family Farm. You got Courtney from Wide Family Farm and Tammy from Rebel Canners for the Blue Ribbon Canning Show tomorrow at 10 o'clock Eastern. And then there's a bunch of other ones going on. So we're trying to get together a list so we can post it up where you can check out all the lives that are going on. So, and I want to apologize to everybody that I'm subscribed to. If you're putting out videos, I'm not getting notifications. Starting Tuesday night, I started getting these blips popping up my notifications saying YouTube has it says YouTube, this website has been updated in the background. And yesterday and today it's coming out every 5 minutes. And it's like, and when the last time that happened, it was 8-9 weeks before I got any notifications. I have not gotten any notifications today. So I have to go hunting for videos, guys. So if I'm not there typing in first, you know why.
Mhm.
All right.
Could I touch on one thing before we
Sure.
end?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you guys out there, your garbage discipline before anything happens and after, if you're going to get into canning your vegetables or whatever you're going to can, for God's sakes, don't let your neighbors see you bringing in a crate of canning jars and lids. Bring it in, take the boxes like a pressure cooker, right? Take those boxes and destroy them, or find one of those recycling bins that are for a community and throw it in there. Get that stuff away from your house, because there are people in my area who go through our garbage at nighttime, and these are the people you don't want them to know that you're. Oh, they look at all the canning jars, look at the pressure cooker. This guy's got food,
Yeah.
and he's going to have more food coming up. But during an emergency, plan on what to do with your garbage during an emergency. If you've got food stores, have a way of getting it away from your house, as far away from your house as you can. Like, example, that's the time to be a dick. Take your food containers, peel the label off, whatever you want to do, and bag it up and walk it away from your house and throw it. Get it out of your garbage can.
Yeah.
You don't want people to see that you're eating while they're going hungry, and I mean your neighbors. That's what I'm talking
And if
about.
you're buying the canning jars, if you can find them, I actually just finally found some here, and I picked up 2 cases today. But if you have a garage, pull into the garage to unload.
There you go.
If you
Yeah.
don't have a garage, get like a suitcase or whatever. Take a suitcase out to the car, load the stuff, and take it into the house. Put them in and get some of those big carry-on bags that you can get for like Costco or Sam's Club, but get the ones for TJ Maxx or Kohl's or Kmart or whatever, some other stores and clothing stores preferably. And that way, if you're bringing it, you put the stuff in that bag and you carry it in the house. What do your neighbors see? Oh, he's buying clothes. They're not thinking
Yeah.
food; they're thinking clothes.
Good thinking. Good thinking.
That way, you're bringing in. You can bring in your canning jars are in the case. 12 jars in a case. If you keep the cardboard box in the house, after you've canned, you put the jars back in that case to keep it safe on the shelf so it doesn't get knocked off. That's one way. That way you can reuse that. But like the box for the pressure canner, unless you're going to put the pressure canner back in the box when you're done to put it away. If you're going to throw it out, yeah, you need to, disrupt it. If you got a fireplace, tear it up in small pieces. Or if you're doing a garden, you can take those, some of the boxes and use them as mulch on the, over the winter time to keep the weeds down. Put the grass clippings on top of it and let it compost in.
Yep.
Yeah. Once again, Fat Man's making the point. Once again, if rations are being given, make sure you're getting them too, and wear extra baggy clothes. Why? It makes it look like you're losing weight, like you're going hungry. And that way everyone goes, oh, wow, man, that guy's losing weight. Oh, man, they don't have any food. So they're not going to try to follow you.
Yep, true. That's good thinking. Very good thinking.
Yeah. And Christy has the other thing, too. She unloads the car in stages. Cold items go in first. Stuff you have to put in the fridge. You can go out and get something, some of the, dry goods and stuff later on, bags of noodles, whatever it is. You don't have to bring it all in at the same time. And you can bring, if you only go out shopping and you're not going out to the car for the rest of the day, you got all day long to unload the car a little at a time.
Yeah. And for God's sakes, if you've got stuff stored away in your house, keep it out of sight of your windows.
Yes.
Keep it out of sight, or even if keep it up on a second story in your bedroom or your closets. So if a neighbor comes over to visit during the good times, they don't see that you've got all this stuff stacked up. Don't let them see it. Just keep it out of sight as much as you can. Camouflage it, disguise it, hide it, especially in suburbs, man. You never know who's walking their dog looking through your windows.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Homestead Aquarius. I mean, that was just wrong of your neighbors.
Yeah. Homestead, yeah, right on. Yeah, your neighbors are your biggest threat, not the government.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone talks about big government. The government may have a lot of bureaucracy and stuff, but they don't have the manpower for the number to really spy on everybody out there.
Yep, that's true. Very true.
All righty, folks, we're going to wrap it up here now. Thank you all for coming in. Thank you, Bob, for joining me up here and sharing your experiences and giving everybody good advice for if a martial law situation occurs in their local area, how to respond accordingly. Because I can practically guarantee you there's not going to be martial law declared across the entire United States at one time, like these fair porn channels are saying. Heck, it's probably not going to be declared across an entire state.
Yeah.
I mean, Katrina, they didn't do the entire state of Louisiana. They did just certain areas for martial law.
Yeah.
All righty. So everyone, I'm going to wrap it up here and just, a couple words here. Remember, stay happy no matter what life throws at you. You don't want to get depressed about anything and you start giving up hope. Mm-hmm. Stay safe. Don't go out and do anything foolish. Keep adding to your preps. Water, food, medication, and skills. Build up your skills because you can always barter skills to get stuff you need.